Don't forget to push that like button as it does help out the channel. And if you are new here, hit the subscribe button and enable all notifications so you don't miss a single video. And I thank you for 7 years of support. This review is intended for people who have seen the film Dragon Ball Super Superhero or those who don't care about spoilers. If you have not seen the movie, you can check out my non-spoiler review, which is up on the channel right now. I'll leave a link in the upper right here in the cards so you can protect yourself from getting information about the film. But this will be my spoiler-filled review for Dragon Ball Super Superhero. I have seen the film with my own eyes now. I have done a full spoiler synopsis, but this is the actual review giving my thoughts on actually seeing the film. And luckily, I was able to view the movie now, and I can now talk about my nitpicks, because there are things about the movie that I don't like, but I couldn't really go too deep into it in the non-spoiler because it involves specific plot points and lines. But I'll also talk about things that I did like. So let's go ahead and get into it. So if you saw my non-spoiler review, I talked about how much this film borrowed from the MCU. And man, was I surprised. So when I was covering the leaks and whatnot, I was told that the Red Ribbon Army had 2 bases. But I didn't really understand what that meant until I watched the movie. They literally ripped off Wakanda in this freaking movie, where the Red Ribbon base is hidden under some kind of technology where it cannot be seen from the outside. You have to go through a specific gate to see it. And that was right out of the MCU, right out of Infinity War. On top of that, we have at the end of the movie, Gamma. The Gamma's literally like when Gamma 2 died, he like, the way they did the effect was like the snap. It was literally the snap, like, you know, with him being dusted. I couldn't believe that, yo. I could not believe it did it like that. I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. And then the other MCU, I guess, or comic booky kind of thing, besides like the soundtrack, which I really enjoyed, was the fight on top of the train. Like, it really came off like a scene from Spider-Man 2, you know? And again, I'm not mad about this, right? It's just kind of cool that, you know, these people saw the Marvel movies and were like, yeah, let's capitalize on this while also throwing homages to that. Plus the wrestling moves, a DDT, a drop kick, like, that was freaking awesome. So that was, again, I'm not mad about that. I actually really liked that. And I did like the characters of Gamma 1 and 2, although we've seen other characters like them. They were kind of mirroring the Great Saiyaman in a way, and I always thought that was a really cool little thing they threw into this film. Now, some of the things that, you know, I actually enjoyed was how much screen time Piccolo got. Piccolo was a lot of fun in this movie. Piccolo was the centerpiece, the backbone of this film. And although Gohan was the lead, Piccolo was probably the most important character to the movie because he had the most lines and the most screen time. And we found out that Toriyama wanted to actually make it just a Piccolo story, but it was Akio-san, Akio Ioku, convinced him to have Gohan there too. So Akio-san's definitely done his research on Gohan fans and how they wanted to get a break. This movie could have been called Dragon Ball Super Rebuilding Gohan, because that's precisely what it did. You know, even by the end of the film, Gohan acknowledges, because early in the movie, Piccolo's telling him to take the training seriously because Father and Vegeta will not always be there to protect you. And Gohan realizes that by the end of the film, and that is, to me, development on Gohan. But is he going to continue to realize that? Well, what's going to suck is if Dragon Ball Super continues and Gohan goes back to, like, being a nerd and not training. Like, the thing about Gohan is he has a responsibility, right? As being, you know, one of the strongest, if not the strongest potential of any character in the series. You have to use that power for good. You are a hero, after all. You are the Great Saiyaman, and he has to keep, you know, training while also still being a great scholar. He can do both. You can do both, dude. So I hope that Gohan does that going forward. The Pan thing. So Pan was a lot of fun in this movie. She didn't have too many lines like I thought she was going to. I mean, she had a lot, but not as many as I had thought. However, the whole arc of her learning how to fly, I talked about this in a video I did a couple days ago. She already knew how to fly when she was a baby in Dragon Ball Super. So either Toriyama did not watch Dragon Ball Super, which wouldn't surprise me because he forgot the show was even called Dragon Ball Super. I mean, that should tell you something. He doesn't even care that much anymore. He really doesn't. But at the same time, It could also be that although Pan knew how to fly as a baby, maybe she didn't know how to fly like and control it. Instinctually flying versus actually knowing how to fly. She may have forgotten. So maybe it was her and Gohan forgetting how to, I guess, be powerful. If that's, you know what I mean, use ki, like the right way. And I really did not like them kind of rehashing like, let's get Gohan serious, let's get Pan to fly. I wasn't a fan of that, but if they continue this and actually keep it consistent from now on to where Gohan and Pan don't have to learn anything anymore, and Goten and Trunks can actually, like, fuse properly instead of forgetting about it, I think I'll be happy, because the idea here is that, and this is something that is a metaphor for life. Sometimes you get knocked off the horse and you got to get your ass back up and climb back on that horse, man. Life will do that to you. And that was the story of Gohan, Pan, Goten, and Trunks here, is that sometimes you can slack off, and maybe it is your fault, but that doesn't mean you can't be redeemed, and doesn't mean you can't come back and do something right, which is what Gohan did by the end of this movie. Now, of course, we got to talk about Gohan Blanco. There's no explanation for this whatsoever. I have a theory, and I might do a video on it down the road, maybe sooner than you think. But there's no explanation as to where this power came from, no lines in the film that discuss it. It just was literally an ass pull. And that, to me, is going to piss off a lot of people. But it is what it is. And hopefully we'll get an explanation someday, but that's not a guarantee. So on top of that, I also want to talk about, well, we're going to save the Cell Max conversation for a little bit later, because that, to me, is the most controversial thing about the movie. The 3D effects, some of these shots looked really, really nice. Some of these shots looked like complete trash, and that's the truth. There was about 4 or 5 different lines or scenes in this movie that, 4 or 5 scenes that looked really bad, like looked like really, like almost unfinished, if you want me to be honest with you. Like the scene where they're all firing their blasts at Cell Max, that looked unfinished, dude. Like when there was all of them lined up, that was unfinished. Some of the effects where like they show the ships taking off or the camera rotating, it does look like CG, but luckily, like it's very CG, but luckily like it looked like good CG. It was almost like Spider-Verse, where it looked like decently done CG. It wasn't like, reboot, from way back in the day. It looked well done. And I can probably see them like someday going back and doing touch-ups to make the movie look even better. But these kind of effects, we've seen them before. They've used them in not only Dragon Ball movies, but also Pokemon movies too. And it's one of those things where I didn't really mind it as much as I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to hate it, but it actually wound up being better than I thought. I did like the slice of life moments, although I was expecting more. The second half of the movie's just fighting, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed Gohan. Bro, Gohan's entrance, when they're on their way to the Red Ribbon base, and he jumps out of the ship, and then boom, hits the ground, and everybody freaking flies back. That's like, literally like, the superhero version of Thor in Infinity War when he showed up, bring me Thanos. Like, it was the same idea, dude. It was amazing. There is no question that there's Infinity War all over this freaking movie, dude. It is all over this movie. I did enjoy the fights with the Gammas in the second act as well, and I really liked, sort of like the backstory of Red Ribbon, even though, I'll be honest, making Magenta the son of Commander Red and making Dr. Hito the grandson or whatever of Dr. Gero, I feel like that was a little bit too derivative. It wasn't really something that was necessary, and but they had to tie it in somehow. I just feel like it didn't have to really, it seemed almost like too convenient, if that makes sense. There are things about this movie that are going to piss off a lot of Dragon Ball fans. Like, if you're one of those Dragon Ball fans that, like, is a hardcore Vegeta or Broly nerd or Goku nerd, I mean, they have a really... I really like the fight scene with Goku and Vegeta on Beerus' planet. That was really a lot of fun to watch. But they don't do much, and so, like, they don't do anything except for, what they did. And it's one of those things where if you're that kind of a fan, where you're only a fan of those characters as opposed to being a fan of the entire franchise, you might not like this movie because it's not about them. Broly doesn't really do much either. And then in the post-credit scene when Vegeta beats freaking Goku, obviously they're both like really tired, and then Vegeta gets a lucky shot or whatever. People are going to take that and, like, there's going to be memes all over Instagram and Facebook about Vegeta beating Goku, even though, again, like, they're just training. It's not like they're actually they actually hate each other. It's not that. But of course, that takes us back to the Kanzenban ending. That is to say, the second ending that Toriyama came up with for the manga when he reissued it back in 2004, where he had Vegeta murmuring to himself, "Someday I'll beat you, Kakarot." Like, a lot of folks hate that ending. They really do. And now it kind of renders it kind of moot, because if Vegeta did beat Kakarot here, this takes place before the end of the manga. So that could be considered a plot hole as well. They're definitely not really giving a shit about plot holes and stuff like that. Like, they don't really care. They just want you to go out there and have a good time. That seems to be the thing I've noticed about these movies. They're just there for us to have a good time, which is really what the old Z movies were. A lot of folks are like, oh, well, that's not canon or whatever, and that's fair, but they were just meant for us to just enjoy more stories with our favorite characters. And, if you like Piccolo and Gohan, this is the movie for you. I really enjoyed the Red Ribbon base. There's a lot of really creative things in this movie. What I did not like, and I mentioned before, was the Pan and Gohan thing, and this whole thing at the end of the film where Gohan's like, I'm not really sure if Dad and Vegeta could have beaten Cell Max or if they could have handled them. And it's like, dude, you don't even know how strong they've gotten. I know that Gohan fans are going to wank off that scene, and people are going to go around saying that Gohan surpassed them, and maybe he did. I'm not saying he didn't, but he has no idea the kind of training Goku and Vegeta are undergoing right now. So even though he may think he's stronger than Goku and Vegeta, Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct Goku, after the Granola arc, or after they finish their training with Beerus and Whis, might mop the floor with the kid. We don't even know yet, but I think a lot of people are going to use that as a way to oh, Gohan's the strongest. And again, he might be. I'm not saying he's not, but how does Gohan know that? I'm not really mad about the line or anything like that. It just kind of came off like, well, I know where this is going, because I've been in this fandom for so long that I know what people are going to do and what they're going to say and how they react to certain things like that. People make a mountain out of a molehill here. I don't think it's that important of a line, but others might. I did like how the Red Ribbon Army kind of imploded, how Dr. Hito was fooled into thinking that Capsule Corp is the enemy. I really enjoyed that. And I actually liked the little scene where Magenta shows Dr. Hito the Trunks versus Mecha Frieza fight from a cell phone, the camera angle from the spy robot. That was cool. That was very funny. It was very creative too. But what I was going to say was, the old Red Ribbon Army, if you remember, Commander Red was betrayed by Black because Commander Red thought that he wanted a wish to be 5 inches taller, and Black thought it was a waste of a wish, which was a big. We'll get to that here in a minute about this movie. And so and so in this movie, Dr. Hito has been lied to by Magenta, and they have an implosion, and it leads to Magenta getting killed by Hachimaru, and that leads to the release of Cell Max. And we're gonna get to Cell Max, but I want to first talk about the wishes. A lot of fans seem to have a problem with this, and I kind of know where they're coming from. Bulma using the Dragon Balls to make these wishes. First of all, every Toriyama movie, Resurrection F, Broly, and this one that Toriyama's written, the dragon grants a different number of wishes. It was 2 for the first one, then they fixed it to 3 in the Dragon Ball Super Anime version. It was 1 in Broly, and then it was 3 again in this movie. Now, the way it was in the original manga, before we got to this point in the timeline, is the dragon could grant 3 wishes. Then they upgraded the dragon in the original manga to grant 3 wishes. In this movie, he upgrades the dragon again to grant more powerful wishes, and that was a cool thing. But a lot of folks have a problem with Bulma wasting wishes to make her butt bigger and her eyelashes longer, and I do understand that. I would have a problem with it too if it wasn't for the fact that the movie kind of makes it into a joke, because even Piccolo himself is annoyed. Toriyama knows what he's doing when he writes Bulma to do that. So he wrote Piccolo to kind of say, okay, stop abusing these wishes. You are making a mockery out of our dragon. This dragon is here for emergencies. If something happens, we need it. And it is what it is. Now, Piccolo's wish to have his power unlocked. That's one of the bigger problems about this film, is that Gohan and Piccolo get power-ups that aren't really earned. Now, you have to understand, this is not the first time it's happened in Dragon Ball, because Gohan's character doesn't seem to have put in the same kind of work that Goku and Vegeta do. So because of that, fans have kind of made fun of the character because, the old Kai unlocked his power, the Grand Elder of Namek did it, and so Piccolo wants to get the easy sort of, upgrade, and he did get it, and that bothers a lot of people, and I can understand why. It was a little annoying because now anybody can use the Dragon Balls to wish for like a power up, which we saw Granola and Gas do in this manga chapter, in this manga arc, that is. But I mean, I can understand. It didn't bother me that much, but I am concerned. I'm cautious that the story going forward is going to do a lot more of this, which I hope it doesn't. With that being said, though, I really did think that Orange Piccolo was cool. How he was bigger, and they say that he's supposed to represent like the Namekian Tree of Life, and that was kind of cool. But like, he got big, and then he actually got big and had a big kaiju fight with Cell Max, and I actually really enjoyed that part of Cell Max. So, again, I do find it a little bit annoying, but it wasn't enough for me to hate the movie. The scene with the failed fusion Gotenks was done just for slapstick. Like, you see, like, his butt crack is showing and stuff like that. I mean, I would have liked to have seen, like, what, like, older teen Gotenks would have looked like. And they actually tease it near the end of the film when Pan's flying around and they fuse, but then, like, she flies to some other place so you don't even see the correct fusion. It's crazy, but it was just, it was, okay, it was done for slapstick comedy. I didn't think it was that funny because we've already seen that enough times before with fat and skinny Gotenks that it's just not, it doesn't really hit the same way it used to. They could have removed that whole scene. It wouldn't have hurt the movie at all. You know what I mean? But it wasn't like a terrible thing. It was just unnecessary. Cell Max. Let's talk about Cell Max. This is the one where people are really divided. What do I think about Cell Max? I have seen some of your comment, and it's really 50-50. Some people preferred that they do a new villain, a totally new villain, and I agree with you on that. Some would have preferred that it was the original Cell coming back, who actually had memories of Gohan, and it was like him coming back. But then that would be a little too much like Resurrection F. It'd be Resurrection C. But with Cell Max, that is, they were able to kind of create a new Cell based on the old Cell. And of course, this Cell had second form Cell's look because that's Toriyama's favorite form. So now he's going to bring it back the way he wants to and make him a main villain. A lot of people do not like Cell Max. A lot of folks don't like him. I am a little bit on the fence about it. There are things that I did like and I did not like. I don't know if having like a mindless monster is a good idea because Broly, when he became Berserk, was kind of like that, right? He lost control. So we kind of already saw that. But it is different than like a villain like a Frieza or somebody who, like a Goku Black, somebody who actually is more cunning. This was just a big monster. Now, I did like how Cell Max had those crazy-ass attacks that were reminiscent of like Shin Godzilla, like the fact that his whole body lit up and he had all that energy coming out. Like, he was really damn scary, and in a good way. Like, this is definitely a movie that has to be seen on the big screen to be appreciated because of how big Cell Max was. And it was different from Gogeta versus Broly. I had talked about this with you guys like months ago. The final battle of this movie was going to be very different than Broly versus Gogeta, and that it wasn't going to be one-on-one. It was going to be a lot of different people involved, and that's what we got. Now, I didn't know details about how Cell Max was at the time, how he looked. I had no idea. The design of the character, like, it looks, and this is the thing, the Gohan Blanco form, the Orange Piccolo form, and Cell Max, these things come off like such fan fiction schlock. Like, this is stuff that, like, I would have written when I was, like, in 12th grade. You know what I mean? Like, it really comes off like that. But for some reason, it actually worked because although Cell Max is by no means my favorite movie villain, he's definitely not one of the best ones, I didn't hate him, and I thought that what they did with him was actually pretty creative, having everybody jump in, giving Piccolo a chance to turn giant again, like, all these different things that they were able to do with this type of enemy. It was like Hirudegarn, and I liked that. There were elements of Bio Broly, Hirudegarn, and Super Android 13 all wrapped up into this movie. And that was kind of cool and refreshing in a way. So, it's not my favorite villain at all. It's definitely one that is, I mean, he had a decent design, but it looked like fan fiction. Not my favorite villain, but I like what they did with him in the movie, if that makes sense. I was actually curious if, you know, we knew we were going to get Giant Piccolo, or at least I knew. If you watch my streams, you knew too. But I was wondering if they were going to bring back like a golden great ape thing. I know people have been dying for Super Saiyan 4 to get brought back in Super, but imagine if they brought back like a new great ape form to fight this thing. That would have been cool, right? Didn't do it. Instead, Gohan, without his glasses, because this new form he's got, you know, I guess makes all your senses better, was able to fire a Makanko Sapo, a special beam cannon. First time we've ever seen him use that move in the anime, or movie, whatever, and blast Cell Max in the forehead, destroying him. So, I don't know, man. The finale I thought was epic and huge in scale, and I really liked that. It felt like it was, you know, as big as Gogeta versus Broly, but probably not as good. I think some people misunderstood my non-spoiler. I did not say I like this movie more than Broly. I think I like Broly a little bit more, but this movie was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and was definitely right up there. Like, there are things in that this movie did better than Broly, in my opinion, but I don't think the whole movie is better. I think overall it's probably a little bit, you know, it's a little bit less enjoyable than Broly, in my opinion. But I like that they actually gave shine to everybody else but Goku, Vegeta, and Broly in this one. It was like the antithesis of Broly. So if you take this movie and if you take Broly and you combine them together, they've used all of the main cast at last. You know, at least there's that. So there is that. Also, I should mention, I didn't mention this earlier, I love this idea that both Magenta and Dr. Hito had like special upgraded skin or whatever, like bulletproof skin. That's what he said anyways in the version I watched. So that was kind of cool. But, you know, and then at the end, Dr. Hito's kind of forgiven, even though maybe he shouldn't be. But I guess he was, because he was fooled by Magenta, and he ends up working for Capsule Corp. So there is that. Overall, a very enjoyable movie. I did enjoy watching it. I had a good time with it. I do wonder how I'm going to feel in a year. Same thing with everybody else. After we finally, you know, have seen it a lot and kind of have digested it and really get to like really get a feel for it. Because Resurrection F, everybody was going crazy for it, you know, but it really wasn't that good, and it took a little time for people to understand that. With this one, I think this is better than Resurrection F. I think it was way better and more satisfying. I do wish they explained some things, though, and there are some things that come off like an ass pull, like Gohan Blanco, which was, like I said, it's fan fiction schlock. But I feel like Toriyama did it on purpose. It's almost like he sat there with like a checklist and was like, okay, fans want this guy to get a new form? Check. You want Cell back? Check. You want Piccolo to get a form? Check. You want Gohan to get a push? Check. Like, I mean, maybe it wasn't just him. It might have been Toei doing that, but it really felt like that. Anyways, that's it for my spoiler review. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And we'll have tons more videos on this in the future. I love you. Take care of yourself.